Hey, sweet listeners. Thanks for tuning in to the NetSuite podcast. I'm your host, Kendall Fisher, and on this episode, we sat down with Kelly Scott, Oracle NetSuite's Product Industry Marketing Manager. Scott dives deep into the retail industry specifically, explaining what it means to build a retail business today and why personalization is imperative to a successful business model. She describes the impact Amazon has had on brick-and-mortar stores, providing insight for how companies should interact with the digitized retail giant. Scott even gives her predictions for the future of the retail industry, much of which she believes will be dictated by millennials and the generations after them, who for the most part have discretionary income. That, mixed with a soft spot for social media influencers, makes for some very interesting trends. All of that and more coming up next on the NetSuite podcast.
You're listening to the NetSuite podcast, where we discuss what's happening within NetSuite, why we're doing it, and where we're heading in the future. We'll dive into the details about the software and the people at NetSuite who are behind all the moving parts. We'll also feature customer growth stories, discussing the ups and downs of running a company and how one integrated system can help your business continue to scale.
Before we get into this interview with Kelly Scott, I want to thank our sponsors over at Hint. If you don't know about Hint yet, their brand is all about making everyday chores more enjoyable. It started when Kara Golden, Hint's founder, needed a way to drink more water, but wanted flavor without all those added sugars and sweeteners that come in most drinks. So she created Hint Water, and I have to tell you, this is now my go-to drink every day. I love the pineapple flavor. It has just a hint of flavor from real fruit essences and doesn't have any of those sugars or sweeteners. But instead of me talking about it, why don't you just go try it out for yourself? Head over to hint.co/welcome to get 30% off your first purchase right now. Hello, NetSuite listeners. Thanks for tuning in today's episode of the NetSuite podcast. I'm here with somebody very dear to the NetSuite team. Her name is Kelly Scott, and before she gets into her whole spiel of her history here at NetSuite, I just have to tell you guys, Kelly was one of my first people that I met here when I came to NetSuite, and she really took me under her wing. As a lot of you guys know, and as I've talked to you guys before, I came from a completely different world when I came to NetSuite, and that was the entertainment industry, and I came to NetSuite not really knowing what to expect, not really knowing the ins and outs, and Kelly really helped me with all of that. So I had to preface it with that because you're such an awesome girl. And I'm excited for our listeners to get to know you.
Well, thank you, and I'm so excited that you came over to this industry because it's been forever changed for the better.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Yes.
Before we begin talking about your role with NetSuite currently and what you do right now, I really want to talk about your history here at the company and how you kind of came to be where you are today.
Yeah, so I started with NetSuite out of college. I graduated from Miami of Ohio. While at school, I interned for a number of SaaS companies, knew I wanted to be in the tech industry. However, I had learned a lot about marketing and a lot about the industry while at school and while in those internships, but sales runs in the family. Both my parents come from long sales backgrounds, and so I knew that, a fast-growing sales tech company was where I wanted to end up. I was lucky enough to join the BDR program in Denver for NetSuite, was in the BDR program for a year, and then actually joined our account management organization out of headquarters for a year. So I was able to live in San Francisco, learn the ins and outs of account management, and really get to know a lot of our amazing customers.
And really quick, before you go on to account management, can you explain to our listeners who might not know what the BDR program is here?
Totally. So BDR stands for Business Development Representative, and they are the front line of attack, if you will, for our prospective clients and customers. So they really are the first folks that get to engage with you all, and if you're interested in NetSuite, they're the first people that you get to talk to. They are the ones that really can send out information and are very highly, they're experts really in kind of what NetSuite does and how we benefit our customers.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And that was right out of college?
Yes, so that was right out of college. Started, it was my first job, and I'm still here, and that's, I never want to leave.
I know you told me that the first day I met you. You said, I honestly don't want to leave this company. So that really gave me kind of hope and, a positive perspective on this whole new job that I took on. So you really mean that.
And I totally do. And you fit in perfectly too. So I joined AMO out of the BDR program, and then kind of wanted to get back to my roots of marketing. And so that's where I jumped in, and I ran the software industry marketing for a while, and now I'm in charge of retail.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. So what is your current role here at NetSuite?
So I am the product industry marketing lead. So it's a little bit confusing. So I oversee the marketing strategy for our product verticals at NetSuite. So as some of you may know or may not know, we go to market by industry. And so what that entails is our retail industry, our wholesale distribution industry, manufacturing, food and beverage, apparel, footwear and accessories, and then newly introduced is health and beauty. And so I have the opportunity to oversee the strategy behind that. I have the pleasure of working with the customers in those teams and kind of in those verticals along with our sales teams, and just really understand how we can better their mission with NetSuite and just kind of make their lives easier.
So can you tell our listeners, how does retail differ from AFA then? Or does it fall under AFA? Which is apparel, footwear, and accessories.
Yes. So it's funny. You kind of, I didn't realize this until I joined kind of the retail industry, if you will. So there are many different things that classify as retail. We are very strong in the home furnishing sector, which is, that is retail. We're also strong in apparel. We're strong in the footwear and accessories. So we've found a number of customers that fit that niche, if you will, and that's what how we've gone to market. So, retail and AFA are different. They have different needs. A lot of them can be the same, but e-commerce, for example, we're seeing a ton of AFA companies really have an awareness and really build their brand on social, and maybe some legacy retailers, that's not a key component for their business. So we've now with AFA really brought in Kylie, who leads social. She will be instrumental in really developing what we need for that vertical for AFA and actually health and beauty specifically.
Right, because like you just said, and as we all know, I mean, one of the biggest ways to shop right now is by seeking it out on social media.
Exactly.
So, to that point, you're clearly an expert in this area. What are some of the biggest challenges you're seeing in the retail industry lately?
Yeah, so it's a very fun industry because we are all, who doesn't love, it's funny, I used to, when I'd be online shopping, I would say I was doing retail research, but I was in fact just online shopping. But we're all consumers, we're all buyers. We all live and breathe the retail industry, and there's a lot that's changing that we can see. And some folks are, scared about it. Some are happy about it. It really depends on whether you're a legacy retailer or if you're a new emerging retailer. But I think the biggest challenge that every single retailer, no matter what you do, is you need to continue to up the experience for that ever-changing consumer. So, bringing that experience to your customer is something that retailers will need to do no matter what to kind of stay alive in the next day and age.
And why is that challenge so imminent and prevalent right now?
So, Amazon, that's kind of, that's, the name of the game. And it's funny because you can't really live without Amazon. A lot of retailers are trying to compete, and I'm doing air quotes with compete because it's hard. You really can't. Yeah. You can coincide. You can try and partner with. I think the emergence of social, of mobile, and of Amazon, those retailers, they'll need to adapt or risk becoming obsolete when it comes to the new day and age. It's just, that's the emergence we've seen is recent. And I think with those three things, it's key that a retailer adapts and adopts those kind of key characteristics of the future.
And while we're on the topic of Amazon, clearly a big deal in the industry, especially in retail. What then whether you're e-commerce or brick and mortar, what can retail companies do to at least keep up and at least keep their, revenue up and keep a constant stream coming in, whether it's in store or online?
Yeah, so I would say there's probably 3 things that companies really need to do. And so, like I said before, they need to adapt and they need to adopt. Mm-hmm. So they really need to adapt to the changing landscape. It's, whether you believe it or not, it's happening. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're seeing stores closing all of the time. However, that's making room for those new, emerging, amazing, cool, some of them NetSuite customers into the space. Right. And so those folks are the ones that have adapted to mobile, to e-commerce, to, customer experiences being key. I know Jeff Bezos says, at Amazon, they're not competitor obsessed, but they're customer obsessed.
Okay.
And that's what you need to be now. I mean, you really can't focus on what your competitors are doing, because chances are they're doing exactly what you're doing or more. You need to have your customer be the top priority for you to really enable yourself to be successful in the business.
It's so funny that you say that, because people will gasp over the fact that I'll buy a bathing suit on Amazon, because in my opinion, that bathing suit, right now, tube tops are super in this summer, right? Bathing suits. I'm not going to buy a $180 bathing suit from Amazon or from anywhere that's just going to go out of style in 2 years. So I use Amazon to buy my bathing suits. And when they say they're customer obsessed, I read their reviews to know, hey, is this bathing suit worth it? Even if it's just $20, should I purchase this one or should I purchase another one? Yep. So I, like you said, the customer forward side of things is obviously clearly, the one of the better, assets of Amazon that you can see right there in real time, what people are saying. So in terms of this, and we'll move off this topic in a sec, but in terms of this, do you think that more retailers should partner with Amazon, or is that something that not a lot of them are doing currently? Because obviously you see online, you see the Rebecca Minkoffs or whatever designers are pairing up with Amazon and selling there.
Yeah. So, I mean, so the question is Amazon kind of your friend or foe? And it's actually, it's amazing. We've done a lot of webinars and a lot of thought leadership here at NetSuite on kind of the rise of Amazon in that space. Mm-hmm. And the habits of buyers have shifted. And, 50% of product searches start on Amazon now. So, if you're a product company, chances are those folks have already looked it up. They've already done their due diligence in terms of what they want to buy, where they want to buy it. The buying cycle is half over. So, I would say Amazon will be kind of in the rearview mirror, or more the kind of the side mirrors. It will always be right there. Mm-hmm. I think there are absolutely opportunities for companies to flourish in this Amazon world, but I don't think they can really fight it anymore. Mm-hmm. I really believe that there's a way that you can totally partnership with Amazon, but it's a collaborative effort that they would need to evaluate, and whatever works best for their business, that's kind of what they need to focus on moving forward.
Yeah, which totally makes sense. Back to what you just said, there are companies that are coming out of this and doing bigger and better things than ever before. What company do you know of that you can tell our listeners about that are adopting and adapting and putting their customer first?
Yeah, so it's funny. I kind of was fangirling at Sweet World, which is and I'm sure everybody has to know what Sweet World is, our annual user conference.
This is going to be several episodes in, and we've talked about it now.
Great.
I think I introduced it at least on Evan or Jim's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, so I was fortunate enough to host a panel, and we had the VP of Technology on the panel with us from Outdoor Voices. And Outdoor Voices is an incredible company based out of Austin. They create amazing athleisure wear, but more, technology for working out clothes and things like that. And so I got to meet him, and I personally love the brand. I think what they do with their customers, for whether it's customer experience, customer support, how they use social. I mean, everything that they do, they've checked the boxes in terms of kind of being the revolutionary company in the industry. But what he explained to us when on the panel at Sweet World was that they were launching an AR kind of app, if you will, where it shows, it would show you the products kind of where you are. So he actually set up an AR scene in the Sweet World Expo Hall, and so you were able to walk over, similar to Pokemon Go, actually. You were able to walk over and look at a pair of running shorts, and you could see the size, and you could see the look and feel, and it's unreal how they're the leader in that space. I think it's pretty phenomenal that they're able to take that and take kind of a crazy idea that was maybe 5 years ago and it's brought to life now. And he can open it up to an expo hall of 5,000 people and they're able to see all of the products. So, they're putting magic mirrors in their dressing rooms so that people can see they can actually see what the clothes look like on them. Or they are hosting events and yoga sessions and obviously promoting their clothing line, but they're also building a community around the brand. And I think that's the most, important thing for a brand that's emerging now.
Yeah. And I am an avid follower. We sound like fangirls right now, but I was actually a follower before I came to NetSuite. Okay. And the reason being was because one of my friends modeled for them. Okay. So I happened to click over. She's pretty much my same stature. And so I saw her wearing the clothes and I was like, and for our listeners who don't know, I'm about 5'9", athletic, very athletic body, not like model body. And this girl's similar to me. And so I was like, oh, she looks great in these. Let me check this out. Right. I love that they have so much diversity in their from Instagram, all of their social media, every picture they post across the board is diverse. Yep. From skin color to body type to exactly. Yep. So, and it just I started following them immediately because I was like, oh, this is a brand that doesn't just expect, every girl to be 5'9", 103 pounds. Right. So I thought that was really cool. So it's interesting how they're also catering to their customers in different ways, not only with technology, but also with the fact that they reach all different people from all areas, body types, skin color, you name it. Right. So it is very interesting.
Want to help save the planet? Here's an idea. Go nude. Unfortunately, not wearing clothes isn't realistic for most of us, but buying sustainable clothing is. Here's Gordon Seabury, CEO of Toad & Co.
Few know that garment production can generate tremendous pollution. So that's why we're hellbent on offering cleaner, sustainably made clothing that's stylish and long-lasting. But that's only half the battle at Toad & Co. When it comes to hitting our business goals, we've learned to focus on what we're good at and seek partners for other areas of expertise. So when it came to ensuring a consistent customer experience across all sales channels and knowing what was going on with all aspects of our business, we chose NetSuite by Oracle. They know business systems, we know eco-friendly clothes. A perfect match.
From accounting and finance to commerce and human resources, NetSuite is the #1 business system to help you simply manage your business. Right now, go to netsuite.com/toad to get your free guide, Crushing the 5 Barriers to Growth. That's netsuite.com/toad for your free guide and to hear Gordon bear all on Toad & Co.'s growth story.
Now, on the other side of the spectrum, what do you think is causing retailers to go out of business today?
So, I think it would be what I just said. They're not doing what the Outdoor Voices of the world are doing. It's the legacy department stores we're seeing, they don't provide customization or personalization. It is you walk into the store and, like I mentioned as well, people are halfway through the buying cycle when they want to buy a shirt or a dress. They've read the reviews. They understand, they've heard word of mouth. They've checked social media.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, when you don't get that extra feel or, kind of that personalization from the retailer or from the business, you're not as inclined to purchase from them and to be a repeat customer is my feeling. I bought my first pair of leggings on Outdoor Voices on social media. And now they have pop-up stores. They bring the experience to you. And I think the stores that we've seen closing, that was never built into their business model. That was never built into their vision. And that's why we're seeing them, unfortunately, not kind of make it into the future of retail.
Yeah. And on, other than Outdoor Voices, because they are a NetSuite customer, being very open and honest with our listeners, they are. I was walking down Ventura Boulevard and thinking to myself, if I wasn't a white female, I wouldn't want to buy here because this doesn't speak to me, and I don't see that changing as quick as it probably should be. Right. Whereas, like, for example, Target, their mannequins are all different sizes. They're catering to different audiences in a world where, Amazon has those reviews and they have the different pictures because they allow their customers to post photos of themselves, and they're all different races and backgrounds and body types. And, I think that is really interesting. In terms of e-commerce versus brick and mortar, how are you seeing that affecting business closing? Talking so many clothes here.
I know. I want to go shopping. So it's funny. Everyone keeps saying brick and mortar's dying. Retail's dying. It's not dying. It's just changing. It's evolving. Mm-hmm. And I think those who don't, anticipate the change, that's some obviously all of the incredible things we have now are because an industry changed. So we're seeing stores close. Yes, that is a fact. But we're seeing retailers, like I mentioned before, they're embracing kind of that omni-channel sense of, how they want to bring that into their business. Mm-hmm. And then they're bringing the digital feel to their physical stores. So, for example, there are, like, when the big legacy retailers are leaving and not able to afford rent and can't fulfill those stores and the stores are closing, we're having these new pop-up stores that had a very, very digital presence and a very great digital presence are then now coming into the physical stores, and they're actually attracting people from their digital community to come into the physical stores. And I think that's one way that will revolutionize the brick and mortar kind of slump that we've seen for a little bit. We're seeing we're seeing Amazon have returns in store. So, you can go to a Kohl's and actually return an Amazon package to a Kohl's. They get you into the store. You most likely will shop around and buy something. Mm-hmm. Or, that would be me in the case. I probably would buy something.
100%. I can't enter without
purchasing. I know. But, I think that's kind of what's happening to brick and mortar. We'll just see a brand new brick and mortar type of store. We'll see pop-ups, and we'll see, new kind of customer experience types of things like a yoga event or a rooftop event, things like that will attract folks to their physical stores.
Interesting. Do you have an example of that, of someone who's done this pop-up, maybe other than Outdoor Voices, which we've talked about, and they bring AR right to their pop-ups, right to their mirrors,
Yeah, so I would say every new every new kind of business that we've spoken to or that we see out in the news kind of have to have the magic mirror, the AR functionality, or are even thinking about it. They need to. It's the buy online, pick up in store philosophy. So every time, I think even it's funny, Gap is actually starting to do that, where it's like, you can buy it online, and Gap has been around forever, but they are revolutionizing the way that they need to sell because they need folks to come into the store.
They need to keep up.
And typically Gaps are in malls, and so, to get folks into the mall, it can be more difficult, but they're doing buy online, pick up in store. They're doing kind of some of those in-store only promotions. They're doing some of that where, they're driving folks more to the physical store, but also through maybe print online digital coupons that are only redeemable in store.
Right.
So that way they're blending digital and physical, and then they're getting people into the stores.
Yeah. And another example that actually just came to my mind right now while we were talking, another brand I followed before coming here that I absolutely adored was Glossier. Mm-hmm. And Glossier opened pop-up shops for a while. I think they're official on Melrose. They're going to have like a brick and mortar.
Oh, wow.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but for our listeners that might know that better than me, but I know that they definitely have a store coming up on Melrose in LA, and I know they had it in New York, and I only knew about them because of their online presence and because of the brand ambassadors that were all Instagram, in air quotes, famous, or, promoting the brand.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because now they're everyone I know owns something from Glossier,
Exactly.
which
Yeah.
is crazy because all I had ever heard of them was their online brand
Right.
and their Instagram presence.
Exactly.
So it's interesting. So I want to kind of talk about that Instagram presence a little bit. As Kelly is a female millennial for our listeners, and I want to know who, being in this industry, who do you love to follow?
Yeah, so it's funny. So as I mentioned, I was in the software, I managed the software industry marketing for a bit, and I would follow a lot of our customers. So I was able to follow kind of the new tech up and coming apps and whatever, and I loved following them just to see not only them gain popularity as their brand just grew, but also just to better understand kind of their brand and their philosophy, since it's, you can't just like the brand because they get you from point A to point B, but they're also, have a great social impact and are, and treat their employees phenomenally. And so I love to follow those folks. I love as well, of course, being in the retail space now. It's only natural that I love the, Rachel Zoes of the world and the Kardashians of the world.
It's okay, girl. Look, we can't. You got to be. You just got to be real. It is what it is.
Real.
They're doing it.
They're doing it.
They, have changed the way that we think about fame and the way that we think about people who are, that we want to follow.
Exactly.
They really are.
They embrace. I mean, they know brand more than anybody, I think.
Yeah.
Ever. So
whether or not I agree with it is one thing.
correct.
But
right there with you.
The one thing that I'm aware of and can respect is that they know how to brand themselves.
Exactly.
And they know what their followers want.
Right. And that's basically, at the end of the day, that's what I see brands trying to do every day. I mean, they don't...
Customer first.
Exactly. They can't really, until they figure that part out, I don't necessarily think they will be as successful as they hope. They just really need to get that mindset.
What online brand gets you to actually click and hit purchase? Not just click, but actually buy the product.
So, as I had mentioned, I'm a big fan of online shopping.
Aren't we all?
Yes. So, I have a lot of carts out there that have a lot of things in them. So it's funny. So brands that, like I've actually mentioned before, that are very personalized. So it's an ad with a girl that looks like me, or it's an ad that is very diverse. That it's a company that understands kind of what's happening in the world. It's not just a company that's, just trying to sell to the 5'9", 103-pound girls, but it's, a company that really truly understands what's going on in the world. So, I mean, and brands truly that I can access easily. So when I'm scrolling through Instagram and I see, makeup, or I see clothes, and it's something that obviously is geared toward my interests of working out or traveling or anything like that, I have no problem with kind of clicking and scrolling and then ultimately buying. I would say, personalization and customization is key for the retailers and for folks that are really wanting kind of a loyal base, a loyal fan base, if you will. Yeah. Because once, I've scrolled through my feed and found some amazing products, and then I ultimately follow them and they automatically pop up on my feed the next day. So, brands that really understand how to get to the customer are brands that I ultimately have on my doorstep the next day because I overnighted it. Can you give a brand name, like just to give an example of one of those brands that you think is doing that? I would say Away Luggage. They are, I travel, and as do you, we're, jet setters. I think they've really encompassed the millennial way of life now. I mean, we're constantly, the young professional life, we're constantly traveling, and they've built a product that is what they heard from a customer is kind of essential for when you travel. They promote on every type of social feed that you would ever see as kind of a young professional. And so they're someone that I think have really hit the nail on the head with being that customer obsessed, delivering a product of value, delivering value in and of itself to anybody.
Both of my roommates have away suitcases. I would have one, but my dad got me one for my a travel size carry-on for my birthday, and I'm like, oh, I have to use it for a little while before.
Bit.
But both of my roommates, both millennial women, both in business women. So the brand is doing a great job.
Yeah, they are.
And I love that the type of people that they're using to help promote their brand isn't just one type. I mean, it's not just the businesswoman.
Right.
It's Cardi B.
Right.
I mean, Cardi B talks about her away suitcase.
Exactly.
Like she talks about her Gucci shoes.
Right.
Or her Balenciagas that look like socks, whatever. Yeah. Like she talks about her suitcase all the time. It's not paid.
Right.
She's just genuinely talking about it.
Right.
So.
And that's, I think, I mean, when you have the non-paid customer loyalty, that is what retailers are looking for desperately now.
Yeah. This episode was brought to you by our sponsors over at Blue Microphones. Everyone has a story to tell, and if you're a storyteller, you probably know Blue Mics for their iconic Yeti microphone, which has helped millions of people find and amplify their voices. If you're thinking about creating your own podcast or recording some voiceovers, then you need to check out Blue's new Yeti Caster, the complete mic and boom arm system ready to connect to your laptop, bringing the ultimate broadcast studio setup right to your home or office. That's actually what we used here today for this podcast recording in the NetSuite Santa Monica studios, and we sound pretty darn good, don't you think? To get your hands on one of these setups, visit bluedesigns.com and use code PODCAST at checkout for a special price. So I want to finish up by talking a little bit about health and beauty. As you mentioned earlier in the podcast, we launched our health and beauty vertical. Why is this industry bigger than it has ever been before, and why are we launching this new vertical on its own right now?
Yeah, so it's funny. I mean, we were joking about the Kardashians, but I would say that is kind of, the idea of an influencer is we can attribute why this industry has grown so much, and honestly why NetSuite has launched a specific health and beauty team so that we're able to better serve the community of health and beauty customers and brands, because we really truly understand what is important to a health and beauty brand. So whether that's the e-commerce side of things, whether that's the ability to buy in store or to have a point of sale in store. And if you're a small beauty company that just simply needs to get their financials up and running, but expect to grow exponentially, as we've seen almost all health and beauty companies, we can be kind of that simple platform for you to do that. And so I think that's where we saw the first couple customers. This was a great fit for us. So, to come back, I mean, I think those influencers and the emergence of social media has really made it kind of the next big thing. It's definitely not a fad. It's not going anywhere. But health and beauty is definitely here to stay. As it's funny, as the baby boomers get older, they need to worry about their health. And as the millennials get older, I mean, that's going to be all anti-aging is kind of the new buzzword. And so it will always be top of mind. Millennials have the most discretionary income, I think, than any other industry or generation before us. And so where are we going to spend that? We'll spend that at Drybar. We'll spend that at SoulCycle. We'll spend that at, trying to be younger and stay alive longer. So.
Oh, this is so funny because last year for my birthday, this is another birthday present from my father. The listeners are going to get to know him pretty well. Last year for my birthday, my dad got me a gift card. And on it was to go see a longevity doctor.
Oh my gosh.
And this was for I guess it was it was 2 years ago, my 26th birthday. And I was like, why would I want a gift card to see a longevity doctor? I'm not,
right.
I'm turning 26,
right. Yeah.
I was like, what in the world?
Right.
And, actually now a couple of years later, I'm stoked that he got me that because, this doctor basically put me on a system and I get my blood drawn but he draws blood once a year, and it just tests to see where your levels are, and it helps you keep your body, basically healthy for as long as possible, starting very, very young. So they're pushing right now towards millennials, because these longevity doctors are pushing towards millennials because they should start as early as possible. Right. And so he put me on a system of, it's just vitamins. Yeah. It's nothing crazy. It's not like, you know what I mean? Like I'm injecting myself with like skin cells from like a 16-year-old or something like that. But I really appreciate it. And I didn't think back then, I was like, why would he do this? Like, this makes no sense. Right. I'm not even in my 30s. Right. Like, why would I be thinking about this now? But now I'm seeing it more and more and more with people looking into longevity doctors, people looking into how, you know, instead of at 30, at 20, looking into how to keep their skin looking young, to keep their body in shape. So I think, you know, that this is a whole new world that's going to open up for us NetSuiters.
Totally. Exactly.
And speaking of the future, where do you see the future of retail headed?
So, I mean, it's funny. I think it's very exciting. And as I mentioned before, people are either, you know, stoked or very negative about the future of retail. So yes, the legacy stores weren't able to keep up, and so they're leaving, which paves the way for new, exciting brands that were either online and now can afford to have a physical space, or can have enough of a loyalty and fan base to really drive folks to come visit their physical stores. So, you know, like I mentioned, millennials have more money to spend. The retail industry is not going away by any means. You know, I think we're right at the cusp of kind of a revolutionary time for retail, given that there's just all of these different, I mean, with AR and with all of those things that I mentioned about wanting to bring that customer experience to the customer, it will become, selfishly, it's great for us. I mean, it'll become very easy for us to go out and buy things and have them delivered by drones in 2 hours, and it'll be great. You know, I think there's room for new and exciting things, and I'm just excited to see how they can kind of change the industry and how it will shape what it'll look like in the next 5 to 10 years.
So I guess to wrap all of this up and to summarize, what came out of this would be that retailers, no matter if they're starting fresh or if they're already, you know, been in the industry for a while, adapt, and really put that customer experience first.
Totally. You cannot survive without doing all three of those things.
If there was one other piece of advice that you could leave our listeners with, let's say if they're thinking about getting into the retail industry for the first time, what would you say?
You know, I would say if you are, you know, building your brand and you're emerging into the industry, make sure you have a plan in place. Make sure that plan is customer centric, like we've mentioned. Make sure and I know some of the listeners will laugh, but make sure you have a technology in place that will allow you to really develop your mission and to really grow your brand. The last thing that you want to do is if you're an entrepreneur or if, you know, you're a founder, is be bogged down by things that you didn't sign up, you know, the accounting and the financials and the inventory and all of that, things that you just don't need to waste your time on, and continue to, you know, be the vision behind the brand.
Yeah.
Don't let that bog you down. Really just invest in a system that you can rely on to really take you into the future, take you globally, take you where you really want to be.
And I'm looking at Kelly, and not once did she mention NetSuite, but she is talking passionately from her heart. I can see it in her eyes. So that wasn't an ad. She did not mention NetSuite. That was a serious, truthful answer to don't get bogged down by things that you didn't expect, like financials, like, you know, your ERP, like CRM. Make sure you have that in place before you really start taking off.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it. Thank you so much for being on with us, Kelly. And I can't wait to have you back because we definitely have a lot to talk about. And I think, you know, it's nice to have a female perspective in this industry, and we're fully open to talk about it. And so to be able to talk to a female millennial on this podcast is really exciting and great because that's where we're shifting. There's a shift. And so we can't wait to have you on again to discuss more.
I can't wait either. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and make sure you check out our other podcasts, both earlier on and to come. You can subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. And I will make sure to provide a link to some of the stuff that we're doing in retail right now that you can read up on our NetSuite blog. Thank you so much. Until next time. So, to recap, the most important steps to success for retail businesses today, well, and honestly, all businesses, adopting, adapting, and always putting your customer first. In order to do this, you need to have the proper technologies in place to be able to keep your attention and time focused on the tasks in front of you. Thank you so much to Kelly Scott for joining us on this episode of the NetSuite podcast. I also want to shout out to everyone who made it possible, all of our sponsors, our editing crew over at Lampstand, and especially all of you for tuning in. Talk to you soon.
You just listened to the NetSuite podcast. Be sure to tune in every week with more NetSuite developments, stories, and insights into the benefits of one integrated system to help you run your business.